Going live. You're live.
Thank you.
You're live.
Another Wednesday, and I'm still here.
Hello. Good folks of the internet, welcome. This is the Gary's Guitars weekly guitar Q&A, hangout, talk about guitars time show.
Who's Mark?
I'm Mark, that's Gary.
Gary.
So, lots to talk about, and I want to get to something right away, which is my shirt. I make a lot of videos for YouTube, and if you watched a lot of my videos, you think I only own 6 shirts, because they're always the same. But I actually own several shirts that are all the same color. I just found a bunch of shirts that fit and I like, and I just bought a bunch of them. So if it looks like I'm always wearing the same shirt, but I'm not.
Sounds like a guy
actually
thing.
Yeah, it's a guy. And jeans, I wore the same. I just bought all the same pair of jeans. Right. So I'm just, that's a guy.
You find something that works, you stick with it.
So that's my shirt disclaimer.
Well, I've never heard anybody say that. So
that I look like I'm always wearing the same shirt.
Yeah, does Mark ever change his shirt?
I actually at one time had 8 pairs of the same sneakers. This is pretty. Yeah,
that sounds like a girl thing.
Yeah, no, they're the exact same sneakers. And so they're interchangeable all the time. I just went in and bought the same ones every time. So anyways, you're not here to talk about that. You're here to talk about guitars. So as always, leave your questions in the comments discussion area here on YouTube, and we will talk about that stuff. We got a few things kind of to kick off with, but we do need your questions and comments and such. If you're watching this not in real time, you can leave a question in the comment section that below what you're watching, and we can address it the next week.
Like the one we got from our friend
today,
in Dublin,
which I forgot his name. His handle is Dub Delay,
something like that.
Yeah. So either he likes dub music or he's from Dublin.
Well, we've been calling him the Dublin guy.
I thought was he Dublin? I don't know.
Well,
but chime in if you're out there, Dub Delay.
Yeah.
And you did leave a question last week, which was a good one. It actually sparked something that I wanted to talk about anyway. You asked about your Ibanez. Is it the
SR? I cheated. I just read the question again, and actually did a little bit of research. Ibanez SR 800 bass, active/passive Bartolini pickups, modern contemporary bass, highly regarded. He had a question about noise. He's getting noise, not particularly like 60 cycle hum, but
what do you describe it as?
Thermal.
Thermal, yeah. So
I'm
I guess
not sure what that is.
But probably some kind of annoying ghost sound.
Right.
So first, before we even get into that, I'd like to talk about those Ibanez basses because, long story short, I went to the Prince exhibit where they showed Prince's and collection of instruments, and you walk through like in a museum, except it's all Prince guitars, basses, keyboards, and they had his Hohner Telecaster in a glass vitrine. It was beautiful, but all the basses, there was the Batman bass, which he made for the video of the Bat Dance song, which kind of looks like it has one of those stabilizer arms, like the remember that the first synth Roland synth guitar?
Yeah.
Had this extra like arm that attached to the top, but I think it was just there for looks. He just wanted he just liked it because it wasn't a synth bass. Right. Anyways, there was that bass, and then all the other basses were Ibanez.
Oh, they're all Ibanez.
Yeah, all Ibanez. And they were reasonably priced Ibanez, kind of $800 Ibanez basses, and I was kind of shocked for a little bit. And I talked to everyone who people curate this thing, they actually know. And I was like, what, all these pretty economical basses that Prince played, and he just liked the sound of them. And if you listen to Prince's songs, the bass isn't bassy; it's the kick drum that's bassy, and the bass is always grooving in the middle, almost kind of like a tribute to the Sly and the Family Stone sound, where he just had this distorted bass that was very mid-rangey. And so, Prince. And so, the short story for that long story summary is Prince liked Ibanez basses, so I got one too.
I believe in Dublin, but we're not sure about his Ibanez SR 800 bass. Noise, even when he's not playing, sounds like the sound of your stereo when it's turned all the way up and there's no music on. So I'm imagining some kind of hiss. He described it as a thermal noise, which I'm not sure what that is. Anyways, and what I've learned in the last 10 minutes about it is that the pickups are Bartolini MK1s, which are single coil soap bar pickups, but they're reverse wound, which means when they're on individually, you will have 60 cycle hum to a noticeable extent. But when they're on together, they act as a humbucker, so it should be much quieter. So that could be the problem, that if the sound is still there when they're both on, then, and they are MK1s, then it's something else, but it may just be that. It also has an active circuit in it, a tone circuit. The pickups are not active, but there's a board, a chip, and capacitors and resistors in there to give you active tone, which is different from passive tone. That could be noisy too. If it's bypassable, try bypassing that. If it goes away, it's the circuit. And it still may be inherent to the whole apparatus. In reality, I don't know if I've ever heard a dead silent electric guitar, other than maybe one with the MGs. They do actually have a preamp built into the pickup. So the signal coming out of the pickup, there's no cabling, there's no anything.
Sorry.
It starts out quiet. So without knowing a little bit more, that's the best I can do to answer that question about the SR800.
That's probably someone calling me to tell me that the feed dropped. So anyways, people are rejoining us. So we lost a few people. But I want to, sorry, a couple of confusing things.
Yeah.
The preamps that they stuff inside these bases are so sophisticated that it's amazing they work at all, because they'll have a complete preamp that's supposed to run off a 9-volt battery and fit in that small place. And so sometimes there are things that, he mentioned thermal, that could be, literally capacitors heating up, or a chip that gets out. So it might take a little time to get out of whack. But first thing to try, always with active pickups, is
the battery.
Change the battery. Also, be careful of, you might be using a battery that's too good. It happens sometimes. Sometimes some preamps like a good, 9-volt alkaline battery that is 9.6 when it's new and wears down from there. If you're using lithium or rechargeable, those often kind of come in at 10 point something volts to start with.
Well,
and then they don't discharge much. And there is like, there is kind of it is a battery, but still, we've seen different batteries. People swear. And then, of course, there's the Eric Johnson story.
Yeah, which I still don't buy into. But as we see more varied kinds of batteries and their uses in pedals and guitars, okay, maybe there is a difference. 9 volts isn't just 9 volts. An Energizer is different from a
Ever Ready. Well, actually,
Duracell.
This actually reminds me of a couple things too. One is, so for those who don't know, Eric Johnson swears that 7.4 volts is the optimal voltage for a dying. So he has a bunch of dying batteries that he uses on stage to simulate that battery that's almost dead to run his.
Well, that I would buy into, but initially, back many years ago, at least what I heard, I don't know if I never heard him say it, obviously, but was one of them, Energizers or Duracells, sounded better than the other.
Yeah, right.
He didn't say anything about voltage.
So
that's maybe what he was trying to say, but he didn't know either at the time.
Well, this also reminds me of a thing I listened to recently. I've been listening to a lot of recording podcasts as well. And this guy who was the engineer for the John Mayer record, the really big one that had the song Daughters.
Oh.
Yeah, that million seller hit, Daughters, right? It has this really beautiful sounding acoustic that's so beautiful. And someone in the forum asked him, like, hey, how did you get that sound? And you know what his answer was? He goes, we tried a lot of different picks. He swears to God that he has a box of 200 picks, and he makes guitarists try a bunch of different picks. And that is okay. And so some people who listening are going to feel vindicated for their weird idiosyncrasies. And then some people are just going to be like, what? The pick made the sound? I doubt it. So that figures into this. The battery makes the tone.
It does.
Stranger things could happen.
Woody, he uses a variety of picks because they're all different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for one guitar and one song and one tone, this pick sounds better.
Yeah. Woody's one of those people who insists that a cable sounds better than other cables.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
He has, is it the
Well, he showed
cable?
me once with early, it wasn't the Monster, Elixir.
No, Elixir made an instrument cable
High-end
briefly. They
cable.
don't make them anymore.
Yeah. They were wicked expensive, and we didn't sell many.
No.
But Woody loved, and he showed me over there one day with the same amp, same guitar, switching chords, and like, okay, well, yeah, I hear
Yes, I hear
a little more clarity. Yeah, okay.
I had a single conductor. For the it had something. There was something strange about that cable.
Yeah, alloy or extra super grounding or something.
Oh yeah, and someone just mentioned. I concur. Every amp is different. Every Strat is different. That I think we're going to all agree on. You just pick up a guitar, it's different. Right. But we're talking about the real minutia. A guitar is different when the humidity is different outside. Echo is different when the humidity changes. So maybe the sound of the room changes.
It reminds me of a Jeff Beck story when he did his Cliff Gallup tribute recording, where he did all Gene Vincent and the Blue Cap songs, and he did the Cliff Gallup stuff. He got the exact same guitar, the exact same strings, amplifier that Cliff used, and he just couldn't quite get it until he found out, oh, he used that kind of pick. Ah, there it is.
And we're talking about Jeff Beck, who ordinarily doesn't play with a pick.
Well, not anymore. This was 30 years ago.
Okay. Well,
Still. Yeah.
So, but he taught himself how to play with a pick just to get the sound. Yes.
Had to get the right pick to get the right sound.
So Andrew Burglass, or Burglass, or Burgless, I don't know. He mentioned Mogami cables. We're going to start getting somewhere. Okay, so we're talking about cables. You brought it up. We sell CBI mostly. We really like CBI cables. They're old-fashioned, made in New York, old-fashioned style, American-made wire, American. We have the switchcraft ends, and they're not expensive. And every once in a while, someone walks in and they just don't think they're paying enough for a cable because it's not.
It's less than $50 for a 10-footer.
Yeah,
it can't be any good.
You know, do you have anything more expensive? And so every once in a while, I also order Fender cables and charge $50 for them. But I'd say. I'm a fan of the, so he mentioned Mogami, and I believe that. Mogami, my mixing console is wire with Mogami wire. Mogami is great wire. Now, talking about the cables, here is my pet peeve when we talk about, especially monster cable. This happens once a week. Someone comes in and says, my jack doesn't work. We're like, okay, let's check it out. Plug his guitar in. It seems to work. And then the next question is, do you have a monster cable? And the answer is usually yes. Because here's why. Quarter inch in Asia is not a quarter inch. It's how many millimeters? It's just a half a millimeter under a quarter inch.
I measured it once. This is how we learned. I got out the micrometer. Yeah. It was 3/100 smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't tell by looking, but you plug it in and, it doesn't fit as tight. And in an imperfect jack, click, 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 click.
So if the jack is slightly worn, a Asian-made connector that's made to a metric number can actually appear to fail when an American-made quarter-inch cable isn't failing.
Right. So it's not the jack. I have a question about Mogami. Do they actually market whole cables with ends?
Yeah. Now that they're a brand that
I'm used to seeing the wire.
They were doing So there was the wire. Then they were doing microphone cables for studio use, and then people were buying them, and then they did instrument cables now too. And I can't say anything bad about them because then I'd be shooting myself in the foot because I do have a Mogami rewired Mogami board, but I'm sticking with the CBI for dependability, overall quality. Because then now there's also companies that think bassist players should have different instrument cables than guitar players.
It's really
because
stretching it.
because the impedance is different, the waveforms and okay.
Now, for me, it all goes back to what sound do you want? I mean, if you want the sound of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, then get a plain old cable because that's what they were using. You don't want a cable that sounds different.
Right.
If you want your own sound or the sound of some contemporary player who uses that cable, maybe that'll help.
But don't buy monster cable. That's my pet peeve. I said, okay, let's find out what's so great about monster cable. It's just a great marketing. The monster cable originally was really huge cable, like thick speaker cable. That's how they got their start.
Yes. I still have that here.
We still have some monster cable around somewhere.
That's before there was a monster cable company.
Yeah, and so monster cable. Ironically, their guitar instrument cables don't have a lot of strands in them at all. They're just economical budget cables, but they came up with this lifetime warranty. They came off of a good reputation, and they came up with this thing: lifetime warranty. We'll replace it anytime. Because they're selling you a $5 cable for $40, they can replace that cable 4 or 5 times and still make money.
But then they stopped doing that.
Well, then no certain retailers, I think Guitar Center was like, oh, we don't sell those anymore, so that's not our problem. Take it somewhere else.
That's what happened.
Yeah, something like that. Because Guitar Center has their own cable brand,
Right?
Which I won't editorialize on right now. Okay, we do have a question here. I have an Oasis humidifier in my acoustic right now and was pondering bringing it down for a restring. What's the advice concerning that before bringing it in? Leave it in or take it out? I don't want it to rupture during travel, so looking for advice.
I'm sorry, I missed part of that question.
He has the hanging humidifier in his guitar, and he's wondering should he move his guitar with a humidifier in it? Should he leave it in the guitar when he's bringing it here?
It's an Oasis.
Sure.
Although we're almost out of the humidifier season.
That's probably pretty safe just to take it out, leave it at home for a day or two.
Right.
Because you don't need to bring it in with it in there.
Right.
But they are Oasis. They're one of the reasons we have Oasis here at the store. The same reason we have CVI cables. They don't fail. They don't leave you hanging. They don't. We tried the D'Addario humidifier, and we're a D'Addario dealer, and we're supposed to say nice things, but I've seen them leak this weird oily stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the Oasis, if anything leaks, it's water. So that's good. But I don't think I've seen them leak other than misuse.
I remember a few damaged acoustics back in the day with the old snake.
Yeah, those snake ones. Yeah.
Put water in, but it's really easy to put too much, and then you stick it in there, and it's laying on the back of your guitar, and water leaks out, and you have wood damage, and it was unsightly, at least.
Yeah, and those because it was a snake, it would actually sit against a brace or something when it sat inside, like really. So the glue that guitars are made of is water soluble, so got to be careful around water. And humidity, but especially raw water in its water form.
But definitely humidify in the winter in New England.
Yeah, I don't know if we covered this in previous things, but yeah,
we did.
Yeah, humidifying is real important. Also, real important to take them out when it's no longer humidifying time, which is coming up any second now. I've had someone walk in the store and go like, "Hey, I want to buy a humidifier in June." I'm like, "Well, we're out of them, and you don't need one." Right. And he's like, "Well, I want one." And sometimes because people confuse humidifier or dehumidifier. Right. Or, D'Addario does make that pack that does either.
Right.
And so they but that I'm skeptical of that as well. But for those of you who just joining us or who got ousted during our little technical snafu, Gary's Guitars, question and answer, hangout time.
I didn't say the date yet. April 7th,
2021. Ask questions in the comment section, and we will just talk about whatever you want to talk about. What else should I mention? That's about it. That's the wrap up. Yeah. Right. So chime in, even with an idea.
I have an idea.
What's that?
I'll challenge our viewers.
Okay, nice.
I didn't realize what I'd done today until I said it to the customer that I did it for. But I'll say it to you and see if you can decipher it. Today, I did the Joe King mod on a Dano Blaster. Let me know if you can figure out
So
what that is.
who out there knows what the Joe King mod is?
I'm not telling.
Okay, and so Mike said thank you, and then Dub Delay is back. What's the best new guitar in the shop? Best.
The NS bass jumps into my...
NS, yeah. So we got an NS Designs bass, and it is just all sorts of wonderful. Everyone who picks it up,
That Godin acoustic's
loves
really good.
the Godin acoustic, yeah.
I'm just looking at new ones, not used.
Yeah, new, yeah. What else is exceptional?
Well, I mean, all the Fenders are good.
Yeah.
I can't say one has totally jumped out at me.
The Hofner Contemporary Series bass.
Oh, yeah,
that's
those
the latest thing I'm on about.
A few steps above the...
Yeah, actually,
the
maybe
B
just
series.
hand one over those here for a second, and we'll talk about it for a second. Yeah.
Mark knows all about these things.
Yeah, I'm becoming the Hofner whisperer because
Sure.
I've owned a Hofner for 33, 34 years. That's
Oh, that's
also
a B series. Never mind. I was looking for the left-handed one.
Oh yeah, that's the Icon series though. So I played one for most of my life, and these are pretty damn good replicas.
I sold him his first Hofner
Yes.
Beetle bass in
1987, 86 or 87. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah,
Probably 87.
65?
67.
67. And you paid
But
top dollar for it.
$750.
Yeah.
I had to get a job to buy that bass. I'll have you know, because I didn't. I quit my summer job. This was like July. I came in, I saw the bass, and I was like, and it was like a lot of money, but it was beautiful. And I was like, how much for a down payment? And you were like, whatever, $200. You could have a month to pay it off. I paid $200, and I went out and got a job.
Right.
And I worked really hard for the whole month of July, and then I think I quit after that too. That's
You still got it.
But I still had the bass. It was a good investment, I think.
What's it
Took
worth
me a lot
now?
of places. Yeah, I don't know.
A lot.
That's good. Yeah, 3,000 or something probably. So it's gone up in value. That's good. But I will say that these are. So this is the Contemporary series. They cost a little more. People are a little skeptical because they're not German made, Asian made, but just tremendous. And you should also know that I think this is the case with let's see if we can set that.
Yeah.
This might be the case with the German made that I think all hardware is made in Korea now. Fender is getting their hardware from Korea. And this is Korean hardware, the same stuff that's on the German base. Even if it's made in Germany, it's not 100% German hardware. I don't think. Now,
Goda, I believe, is still Japanese.
Yeah, Goda is made in Japan, and Schaller does make hardware in Germany.
Right.
They charge a lot of money for it. We come to find out their prices just.
Oh yeah, the strap blocks just.
Schaller strap blocks went way up in price, but someone's got to pay for that healthcare system, and it's going to be us.
Right.
But as far as manufacturing, I think Fender hardware, even on the USA's, comes from Korea. I think a lot of the manufacturers are not using American or German hardware
Yeah.
on their production models because of the
who's
cost.
left in America.
Is
Is
that
Switchcraft still American? I don't know. They might be Mexican
Yeah, they
now.
might be made in Mexico, and the same thing with
Somebody told me that about Grover's. Oh, they're all made in Mexico now. Well, okay.
Could be.
I thought they were made in Cleveland, but
yeah.
last time I looked.
Best is subjective, of course. Yeah, that was a comment. Yeah, it's super subjective. So we like used guitars and we like fixing up guitars, but it is so hard to find used guitars lately. It is we're having trouble finding them for the store. Customers are having trouble finding them, and new guitars are pretty good. That's the other side of the coin. Is luckily, if it was the year 2000 and we only had to sell new guitars, or we'd be having a harder time.
Well, it's this store started with new guitars.
Yeah.
Initially, I don't think I had a dealership with anybody.
Used guitars, yeah, right.
Used guitars. Sorry, Seagull came on board first
Mm-hmm.
because I already knew about them from my previous experiences. But until eBay came along, which was late 90s. So people were buying a lot of stuff on eBay, maybe 2000. That took the bottom right out of the used market because everybody could get more selling it privately on eBay, which I understand, but then they bring in their money and buy a guitar instead of trading 3 guitars to get one. And it's been kind of downhill since then.
Yeah, every little step there is in the sell it yourself, like Facebook Marketplace is very popular now, and it's
Reverb.
easier to use. Or Reverb, but Facebook Marketplace is super easy to use because it's like Craigslist, except you're less likely to get stabbed.
Yeah.
So it's Craigslist, but you can like see if the person's crazy ahead of time rather than find that out when you get there. But it's just no obligation. Just put an ad up, and maybe someone will want the thing. But some people don't like the risk involved in Craigslist, and that's why they actually still like to sell guitars to guitar stores. But there's that.
We do still get used guitars in trade, and we purchase, but it did seem to take a noticeable dive when the pandemic started, which was the opposite of what I thought. I thought, if this goes on for long, musicians are not going to
be
work.
broke, and
they're going to have to sell their guitars. They'll keep the good ones, but they're going to sell off the ones that don't care
extras.
about. And it hardly happened.
No, as a matter of fact, everyone get a little stimulus money and went out and bought a guitar. So Reverb just caught on fire. But the good thing about Reverb is it's been a great way for small stores to have their inventory available online.
Right.
Something we don't really do, but a lot of stores do, is they just make a Reverb store and just put everything there as well.
Right.
And they can sell things. We're still, we sell some things online, but we prefer to be an actual store. But also there's some liability issues that creep up.
In a store, you mean?
No, on Reverb.
Online.
Like if you sell something, the person says, "Hey, I never got it," then
we don't like the color.
I don't. I'm just sending
it's not
it
the shade
back,
of blue
or,
I thought it was.
Or they just buyer's remorse or change their mind. I don't know what, but
guitars are probably any musical instrument or one of the things in the world you want to hold, listen to, feel, touch before you buy it.
Yeah,
because they're all different. $199 Johnson is not exactly the same as the other $99.
That for
Johnson.
Sure, in that range. Every once in a while,
that.
especially when we talk about economical guitars. There's the other thing: people come in and ask for used guitars because they think it's going to save them money. And used guitars often cost more than the new guitars are so much better and cost less that just buy the $199 Fender acoustic has a solid top
and a pickup.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and it works and it sounds fine.
Yeah, and so that that's something that no used, even the Sigmas that people are so in love with lately, the Korean made 90s acoustics are plywood top guitars. Right. There are plywood top guitars that sound great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's this Austin Classical that's over there that blows me away every day I walk by it because it just sounds great and it's plywood top.
Yeah.
Actually, Mike says even the PRS S2 have import electronics, I believe.
Oh yes. Yeah, I forget what that series is called. They're assembled in Maryland. I think that's where they are. But it's all Asian parts.
The parts, actually, the wooden parts are also Asian parts. Yeah, the S2 series. Yeah.
Right. But we've seen a few, and they're fine. They're nice, and they're a lot cheaper than an American made.
A lot, yeah, right, yeah. They, used. We sell them for $700-800 or something, and they're really fine playing guitars, which is another reason why inexpensive manufacturing sometimes is
right.
Andrew Bergless or Berglass, I don't know which way to pronounce your name, says I've got a Sigma Martin. It sounds great. I didn't mean to crap on the Sigmas because they are great. I had a lawsuit. Apparently there was no actual lawsuit, but the lawsuit Takamine with the Martin logo on it. That was tremendous. I had one of their 12-string back in it, and I wish I still had it. Yeah. Yes, Korean guitars are great. Japanese guitars are great. Don't get me wrong on that.
It's consistency.
But there was a bit of that problem before, but not
if
anymore.
Martin made 1,000 guitars and there were 1,000 similar Sigmas, a much higher percentage of these would be good than these.
Yeah.
Not that some of these might be just as good as some of these.
And there were different. Okay, so let's go into this a little bit, I guess, because we mentioned Sigma. There were different eras of Martin Sigma cooperation. There was the Sigma that had the Martin logo. There was the accusations of a lawsuit that didn't happen. Then there were Martins made in Japan. Remember, you've seen those, right?
Yeah,
Martin's.
Testing my memory.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the origins of Sigma guitars. I might have to go get a book. But,
Yeah. But there were Martins, Sigma Martins, that were branded Martin. And that could be what our listener was talking about.
Now they're just like Epiphone is to Gibson, like Squier is to Fender, Sigma is to Martin. They're Martin's copyright, copy protect, or what's that called?
Copyright and intellectual property,
yeah,
or whatever.
Their shapes and sizes and et cetera, just made in Japan under their guidance, or Asia under their guidance.
Yeah.
As far as lawsuits,
I
only ever heard of one actual lawsuit that was started and followed through.
Mm-hmm.
There were a number of companies that either were going to get sued or
cease and desist letter. I send the cease and desist.
So there was an era of when the Japanese guitars were copying the American guitars. The story I heard many years ago was that Fernandez got sued by Fender for their Stratocaster headstock. They were copying it exactly, and it was the prize of Fender's copyright rights was that nobody could copy that headstock. And Fernandez did. Fender met the boat in LA at the dock, and I can't remember.
With customs agents,
Yeah, I think it was $100,000 worth of guitars. A guy with a chainsaw? I'm not sure.
Some sort of cutting instrument. Yeah.
They chopped off the headstock, said, "These belong to us. You can have the rest." And that was the end of the lawsuit era.
No one
now Alvarez and everybody at Takamine said, "Okay, they're serious. We will stop."
I don't want to get too. We do have some more questions, but I don't want to get too far off this. But there are a lot of copyright infringement guitars out there today. We saw what we believe is a fake Gibson recently.
The Gibson, S-U-N.
Yeah, and they are convincingly made. But there's a lot more. And I spoke to Tokai because I was thinking of carrying their guitars here, and the guy said to me, he said. I was talking about, so he sent me a price list and all their kind of Strat style guitars they sold me, and I was like, well, what about what they call the Love Rock guitars, the Tokais that are Les Paul copies? They're people line up for these things, and he's like, oh no, those aren't Tokais, and I'm like, what? And he goes, we're prohibited by law, by contract, from selling set neck guitars in the United States.
Wow.
So if you see a Tokai for sale in the United States, it's bootleg.
If it has a set neck.
Yes, exactly. The set neck Les Paul style.
Oh.
That is a revelation because we see a lot of those. And he says, no, those are not ours. They're, he says, we don't, So I don't know whether it's like they come in the gray market, they come in from China, or they literally are not really, there are Tokai guitar knockoffs. Anyways, I do want to catch up on a few questions. So going back here for a second, found your channel after I bought a Harmony 1270 the other day. Any tips on taking care of the 12 string? So the Harmony 1270s, I did a video with all my Harmony guitars.
Yeah.
So he got the 12 string.
Okay.
Any tips?
What era Harmony is that?
It's 60s primarily.
Okay.
It's a Sovereign. Most of them are branded Sovereign as well.
Solid top.
Solid everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So be careful with the humidity.
Right.
I was getting out of my car with a gig bag on, and I turned a little bit and I tapped my guitar into the car door, and I ripped a crack about this long into the side of the guitar because it was too dry, and it just went that little boom, went. So yeah, definitely you got to double check because you're going to all solid guitar there. If you don't have the pin bridge, don't let anyone talk you into putting a pin bridge on it. They sound much better without the pin bridge. I'm sorry.
So for years, what I learned when I was young, and saw done into maybe the 90s was any old 12-string, never tune it up to pitch. Tune it down to D, put a capo on the second fret, because they won't hold up.
A little of that. They also sound like Lead Belly. Those harmonies, if you try, because they sound like Stella's. Anyways, you tune them down to D, you sound like Lead Belly. What's
Right.
better than that?
But I personally have stopped doing that for 20 years, unless there's something suspicious, top caving in, bridge lifting. Doesn't matter how old it is. Well, let's try it at E, and it looks fine. And so I haven't seen any problems with it. So I think it's the 12-string or 6-string. It's the same basic maintenance. Hopefully it's built strong enough to hold the 6 extra strings.
Let's so we got a few questions piling up. Have you seen the new harmony guitars for the MIA guitar? They're affordable. So made in Asia harmony guitars. Yes, I was at the NAMM show and saw them and was thrilled by it. The fact they're bringing back the Harmony name. It's a Japanese company bringing back the Harmony name. Same company that's doing the new. Hold on. Their pedals. No, it might be Harmony as well. They're making pedals under the Harmony name.
Okay.
Anyways, they seem pretty impressive.
Are they doing the old Harmony styles?
Yeah, I think they're doing the Sovereign for at least.
Yeah.
Here's a question from William Morgan: is it possible to demagnetize an electric guitar pickup under normal use?
No.
Okay.
Unless I'm saying putting a tape head demagnetizer or some really powerful magnet on your guitar is not normal use.
Yeah.
They have been known to lose their magnetic value over many years.
Yeah. They can all the pieces can eventually just line themselves up and just become.
There was a while there in the 90s where that was one of the explanations for why a 59 PAF humbucker sounded so great, because it was 30, 40 years old and the magnetism had gone from 100% to 83.7%. And that's the secret sauce. So,
although ceramic magnets or non-rare earth magnets, magnets that are made, those could lose their charge easily because they're not by nature.
Right. I remember Scott Miller had to remagnetize a pickup once.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. I think it was really weak, and
I think it probably took what do you call it, the large magnet on the bottom.
The large magnet on it.
He took that out, had to remagnetize it,
Right.
and put it back in. Right. Not the slugs themselves, but
not the poles, but the actual magnet.
Right. All right. So Michael Krause or Crouse, Crouse. I don't know.
Michael's good.
Yeah. Which is funny because the Fender headstock looks so similar to Bigsby. Yeah, probably the original Bigsby.
Yeah, it was round. Bigsby a little round thing on the top.
But it was inspired. The six-a-side thing. Yeah,
yes.
Right. And then Michael Sullivan says, what do you sell more of, Tellys or Strats? Also, in general, do you sell far more electrics versus acoustics? So Tellys or Strats?
Well, I think in the pandemic era, it's totally dependent on supply.
What we can sell. Right now, we do not have a Strat in the store.
We're out of Strats, so those did well. But we have Telly, so in the next couple of weeks, Tellys.
So yes,
until everybody gets their shipping together and we get regular supplies again.
So Strats are a little hotter right now, I'd say.
Okay.
Because sometimes it goes back and forth. Fender people that gotta have a Telly.
Did we have a week last year where you sold nothing but basses? I sold 8 basses this week and not a single guitar.
Yeah.
And then you don't sell a bass for a month.
Yeah.
There's no simple answer to that question. And same with acoustics versus electrics. It changes all the time.
And so someone said, I have a made in China Love Rock Tokai. I guess it was a bootleg that cost me $100. So for $100, hopefully it's a bootleg. Yeah. Because if it cost you $100 and it wasn't bootleg, it got stolen because I saw their price list and they're not cheap.
No.
So, but yeah, it could be. So Tokai does some Chinese manufacturing. So it could be just kind of going out the back door of the factory. It could be that kind of thing where they sometimes they have ghost shifts. in Chinese factories where after everyone goes home,
Oh,
another
right.
bunch of people come in and they make the same thing but put a different name on it.
I was going to say that about the Gibson
Yeah.
Son, because we've seen a number of those forged Gibsons.
Yep.
That from 10 feet away, you paid how much? $130, and then this isn't a Gibson. The word is wrong. Everything is wrong.
Everything's a little wrong, but also they have Epiphone branded pickups in them, so it kind of made me wonder if they were being spun out the back door.
At the Epiphone.
The Epiphone.
Right.
Whoever was making the Epiphone.
Yeah, they got one of those made in USA stamps. But this Gibson was a step up from that. So I'm wondering if it's the same source. They're just doing it a little bit better now. Not sure.
The harmonies are made in America. Oh, okay, so that's a different guitar. Really, harmonies made in America. He's talking about the reissue harmonies are made at the Heritage plant. Whew.
That's a brain fog.
That would be so let me get my story straight here, because I did see harmony guitars and everyone working in the booth was Japanese. I just assumed they were a Japanese company, because I don't know.
Is Heritage still in Kalamazoo?
That's also a good question. Where is Heritage being made?
We were actually just talking about being a Heritage dealer. Somebody brought one in, a Les Paul in for repair, and it's pretty nice. And
I did meet with them, and their price list is kind of reasonable for what they are. You know, if they are. I heard they were having a little trouble, but they got through it, kind of thing. Kalamazoo, that's close to my heart, because I have the harmony guitars and all that Chicago area. Guitar heritage, the Gibsons that are made. I have 2 Kalamazoo Gibsons. 3 maybe. I gotta check on my. I never checked the acoustic serial number, but probably is Kalamazoo. So when did Nashville production start on Gibson guitars?
Gibson left Kalamazoo in I would guess 85, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, but there was a while where they were making guitars in both plants, right?
Probably.
Yep.
Then they totally left Kalamazoo. They sold the factory to the old guys who had been with them for years, and they didn't want to move to Nashville. And they bought the factory and started making Heritage guitars in Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
I became a dealer in the early 90s because I couldn't get Gibson, and glad I didn't. So I don't know if they're still there or not. All the old guys are gone. I know that.
They must be by now, yeah.
I called up 10 years ago with some heritage question, called up the factory. Frank, he was here for 50 years, but he's passed away. He knew all that stuff. But he's gone. We could try to find it, but...
Well, that's called institutional memory, and it's a real thing. And that's kind of what happened to Neumann microphones. Microphones are now made in the Sennheiser factory. Sennheiser bought Neumann, and they're like, "What do we need 2 factories for? Let's move them." But you had that unique factory where those particular people worked, and that little clipboard was on that wall that had the list of the whatever factor in that. There's a lot of mojo in that kind of. Right. And the same thing when Guild moved. Man, Guild took years to get it right after they moved.
Ugh. Poor Guild.
Yeah. And
being from New England, we have fond memories and feelings of Guild.
Yeah. And Guild guitars are some of the best and worst guitars out there.
Heaven or hell, as Mike used to say.
Yeah.
Not much in the middle, but
yeah, you know it. Yeah, right away. Anyone out there have a Guild guitar? You can chime in. By the way, just for those of you who are joining us, this is a little radio roll. For those of you joining us, thank you, and you can leave questions, comments, and we'll get to them in the comment section. And we're just going to talk about what you want to talk about, so you can direct the conversation. Although we always talk about our stuff too, like Guild guitars. That's a whole episode of Guild guitars. Someone's asking, what Godin electrics would you recommend?
I'm not that familiar with the models anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't ordered a Godin for a while. You have.
I have, yeah. Although I haven't been delivered a Godin in a while. Godin is the most behind of all of our suppliers. Because they are, for a couple of reasons, they actually mill their own lumber and all that stuff as well, and they did not predict there would be a guitar boom this year, and they just weren't ready for it. Their factories were shut down for more. After they came back from the factory shutdown, they had 2 weeks of work, and then they had their mandatory 2-week vacation they take every year, and they took it.
That's January, right? Right after Christmas.
I don't know. I don't remember
Factories
exactly. Yep.
closed.
Just all 4 factories just close
Right.
down. Everyone goes home, turn off the lights. So, so part of it is their inability to make guitars rapidly because they don't source their parts. They make a lot of their parts. And then part of it is also increased demand. So their hollow body, they're making these hollow body archtop electrics. They call it the Montreal series, I think.
Yeah, there's
Metropolis. Yeah, there we go. Montreal's a model in the. Anyways, those are all really nice and great quality. If you're like, hey, I want a Gretsch, but I want it to be better and not cost $3,000. Where if you're going to get the comparable Gretsch, it will. We got Gretches here for $1,000, but they're a slick playing guitar.
Oh, there is the multi-act, of course.
The multi-act is a standard, yeah.
The one we see the most, and the one that we get in and sell the most, I would say.
They don't make bad guitars, so that's good.
Right.
But it also depends what you're looking for. The Kingpin, I was talking to someone about the Kingpin today. The Kingpin is an archtop, full body archtop. It really reminds me of a K guitar, and I own an archtop K. And it's like a K guitar that plays in tune and doesn't need a neck reset.
When they first came out, 20 years ago,
Yeah, 15.
the sales rep came to the store in the good old days when sales reps did that and showed me the new Kingpin. And I said, wow, really cool. It's kind of like a Harmony or something. So that was the idea. We noticed old Harmony archtops are selling for $500. So we said, we can make a better guitar and sell it new for $500.
Yeah, right.
And I
did. Yeah.
So,
and now they're still the most basic one is still $699 or something,
right.
maybe.
Yeah, they've gone up a bit, of course.
It's definitely under $1,000 or under 800, and pretty cool. So that is a recommendable. He's actually mentioned they had the Freeway 4 bass. The basses were really good.
Yeah.
We don't see them as much, and the unfortunate thing is they cost like about $70 more than people want to pay. Like they're not expensive, but they cost a little more. They cost about what the Fender Player version would cost. And if people are buying something that isn't the what they consider the first tier, they're like, maybe I'll just buy the Fender Gibson, Martin rather than the Godin. So, but they have to price things the way they price them because that's what it costs. And they sell plenty. Like they don't need you. They're going to sell every guitar they make. If I order a Godin guitar today, it will be ready in the year 2022. They're about a year out.
Yeah, we just got a couple in last week that were ordered.
That ordered last year?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So they still straggle in.
They trickle in, yeah.
Stuff that was ordered months ago. But.
And they leave in like a day too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
They've been leaving fast. So if
one
you're looking for,
already?
there's one S6 left, and I don't know when we're getting another one.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a Seagull S6,
come
on down, yeah, because someone else is going to. Sold the Freeway Super Strat. I had a Godin Strat myself, and I'd miss it as well. And I keep thinking I should get it. I had what do they call it? The Studio. What do they call that one? That was it was a it was a Strat, but with a humbucker on it. Session.
Thank you.
Yes.
I remember selling a few of those.
And really a great guitar. And for anyone in New Hampshire who's watching this, and most of our customers are in New Hampshire, assembled in New Hampshire. And the headstocks on some of them said made in Quebec and New Hampshire.
Right.
So if you want,
they're local.
Yeah, practically local. Yeah. They don't do electric guitar assembly in the U.S. anymore. They still have the U.S. facility that they use for warranty repair and drop shipping or shipping out things. And
up in Berlin.
Yeah. But they were assembling and doing guitar assembly there for a while. And we had a friend who worked there for a little while. Yep. He's like, I want to learn the guitars, and he went up there and they worked him like crazy, man. He had to leave. They paid him nothing and worked him hard. They're used to those Canadian woodsman workers, man.
Right.
They because so kind of a it's no secret in the Godin world, probably their factories, they have some, are located, well, two of their factories are located in small towns. Two are in big cities, I think, right?
There are two in Montreal, one in La Patrie, and one somewhere else, small town in Quebec.
Something Ville.
St. Pierreville?
Drummondville? No.
I forget.
Anyways, La Patrie, where they started. Did they start in La
Yeah, that
Patrie?
was the first.
Yeah. It's just there's nothing else to do in the town except for work for Godin.
Yeah, I remember the population was 500 and something, and 300 of them worked in the guitar factory.
So they appreciate, Godin treats them pretty well, and so they appreciate it and they work hard. You get the they're an interesting company. That's a whole other. If you can watch one of Robert Godin's Robert Godin talks that he does that you can find on YouTube.
One of the few modern success stories that's similar to the old success stories of a single guy had an idea, pursued it, and turned it into a successful company that's worldwide.
Godin also makes ghost manufacturers for other North American companies. They can't tell you who it's for because it's ghost manufacturing. But according to Robert Godin, they are the largest guitar maker in North America.
Yeah. And they used to make. There was a period there where I think they made the bulk of their profit was from selling wood to other guitar makers.
To other guitar makers or selling necks or things like that.
One of the first times I met him many years ago, he was telling me about. He said, "Yeah, my favorite part of the job is I can sit in my office, look out the window, and pick out the trees we're going to cut down next to make guitars." Oh, they own the wood. Well, that's a good start.
And they have their own aging or drying procedure that they develop themselves,
Right.
which involves taking all the wood and throwing it in a snowbank in the winter, letting it soak in some water, bring it back inside, dehumidify, and then so that they use the Quebec winter to their advantage.
Well, any guitarist who's on YouTube watching this, when you're done, type in Robert Godin, Godin, and there's some fascinating guitar stories that this man tells. Lectures he's done.
Good talker, nice guy.
He's done it all, knows a lot.
A couple new questions coming in here. How about the Acoustasonics? Having in the shop yet? No, for two reasons.
What about the Acoustasonic?
The Fender Acoustasonic.
Yeah.
No, not the amps. The guitars are calling Acoustasonic. It's a Stratocaster that's semi-hollow body. Have you seen those?
Yeah. We did have one. Maybe?
There is. They've come through, but here's the thing. It's if I hope our Fender rep isn't watching. Great guy, been very helpful. Fender has been great to us. One of the Fender owners is a customer. So, but no, I don't want to. But there's a lot of marketing going on around that Acoustasonic guitar that they've created a market for it. I'm not anxious to. I checked them out at the NAMM show. I'm not too anxious to do much to get stuck with one. I mean, do much with them. But that is super opinionated, not fact. Chris Lammy says, "Is the Telly neck pickup the most unloved pickup in history?"
Maybe.
Ask Keith Richards what he did with his.
What did he do?
No, he has a humbucker in the neck.
Got out the wire cutters.
Yeah. It's although Telly players who play jazz do love it.
Yeah.
It's a warm sound.
It's the most common complaint about a factory pickup would certainly be that pickup. Can't think of very many times people said they love the sound of a Telly on the neck pickup by itself.
Yeah.
But with the bridge pickup, it is part of the inherent sound of a good sounding Telly.
Yeah, in the middle position. Yeah.
Pickups.
A lot of people like to put humbuckers in there to also have a humbucker because that can be useful. So it could be in the wrong place. I bet if you ask Scott Miller, he'd say it's in the wrong place.
It's easy to check. If there's a harmonic over the pickup, that's the right spot.
So yes, good. Oh, and he also says, to remember, Gurion guitars made in New Hampshire. Let's talk
Michael.
about Gurion for a second. We're talking about made in New Hampshire guitars.
Michael Gurion, Hinsdale. I never met him, but Chris Pern, who was the luthier in Gary's guitars for 15 years or so, back in the 90s, was friends with Michael, which I guess is a bit of a stretch. Michael was, and I don't know if he still is, was quite eccentric. I heard a few stories from Chris. Chris was in Peterborough, which is not far from Hinsdale, and he was doing luthier work, mostly repairs, but was starting to build and hooked up with Michael and learned a lot from him. I know how to put classical guitar strings on. Chris showed me because that's how Michael did it. And I can't imagine a better way. Anyways, he made some high-end, handmade, small quantity. I don't know if he made a lot of dreadnoughts, a lot of concert.
Interesting shapes, because they weren't all guitar makers in the 70s were doing that, trying to find a new shape that wasn't a dreadnought that could give you more of everything you wanted.
And he was definitely a hippie.
Yep.
Hippie guitars. And then he had the fire. He had a warehouse full of wood. He was going to build guitars for the rest of his life. It burned down. He lost all his wood. He resurfaced a few years later in Brooklyn, I think, because there are some New York Gurions. Anyways, we see them once or twice a year. Somebody comes in with their old 1974 Gurion or their 82 Gurion.
Well, we usually see them. We usually see the Gurion. You open the case and it's in some sort of sad shape. They don't age well. One day this guy walks in. He goes, "This was my dad's Gurion," and you just get emotionally ready to tell him that the thing is not fixable or that needs $1,000 or more worth of work. He puts it down, opens the case, and
perfect.
It's fine.
Like, did anybody ever play this?
Was it on the planet Earth? Because these guitars can degrade just sitting there.
Well, we have a good friend who has had one since the mid-'70s, and it was great for 20 years. And then Chris had to do the major $1,000 neck off, bridge off, bracing repair. And now, 25 years later, it's still great. And, he was happy to spend the $1,000
to buy another guitar.
Keep his guitar. So.
Then a guy named Mike says maybe the Esquire was the right way to go. Yeah, Esquire. About the Telly pickup.
Right.
Yeah, maybe he just threw in the neck pickup just so he could just sell it for a little more.
I'll try to do this really quickly. The pickup was originally designed to be a bass pickup. Leo's idea was that the electric guitar was brand new, and there was no such thing as an electric bass. That was still a few years away. So Leo had the idea of first the Esquire with one pickup. That's good enough. But then he thought, well, the acoustic bass is never going to be heard equally to the electric guitar, even though they were playing through 3-watt amps. So he added that neck pickup and with a humongous capacitor. So when you flipped it forward, it engaged that capacitor, took out all the treble.
Yeah, so he thought
that was a bass sound.
Yeah, he thought guitarists would substitute for bassists.
Play chords,
and then
And when you see an old Telly that still has that cap in it, you get the idea. I mean, it doesn't sound like a P bass, but it's passable bass lines.
Bass
so that pickup was never designed to be a guitar pickup per se. So
all right,
just to make excuses.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I will have to say right now, though, even though the party's only getting started, it's time to go already. So just remember, you can go back and watch the part you missed because some people joined us later. You can watch other videos on YouTube. We make a bunch of videos on Instagram and Facebook and all that. Anything you just get in touch, get in contact with us. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week again at 6:00. Put it on your calendar, put the reminder button on, hit the like button if you would, please, because that helps tell other people it's worth something worth watching. And anything else I'm forgetting?
If you'd like to ask us a question, just do it when we're not here and we'll read it.
Yeah, you can leave any questions in the comments if you're not watching in real time, and we'll get to it next week. And we hope you join us then. And thanks for watching.
Yes.
Say good night, Gary.
Good night, everybody. in this time zone.